Here we go again. So Trump has just announced this morning new tariffs on Canada. He announced it on his Truth Social network. So let me read you verbatim exactly what he said, and then we will deconstruct this part by part. I will also give you my opinion as to what's likely going to happen. So with that said, as always, my name is Derek. I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. Here is his Truth Social post. We have just been informed that Canada, a very difficult country to trade with, including the fact that they have charged our farmers as much as 400% tariffs for years on dairy products, has just announced that they are putting a digital service tax on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. They obviously are copying the European Union, which has done the same thing and is currently under discussion with us also. Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Okay, so a lot to unpack there. First, he's calling this supposed tax that Canada is implementing on the United States, he's calling it a direct and blatant attack on the United States. Now, look, different countries charge different taxes as well as tariffs on each other all the time. That is called global trade, and a lot of it has to do with rebalancing purposes, protecting domestic industries, etc. And yes, a tax on foreign entities, that makes it more difficult for the foreign entity to compete in the home country or the country that's imposing the tariff. But it's very similar to how his own tax bill includes basically doubling the withholding tax for foreign investments in the United States, or not doubling, but close to. The foreign withholding amount is 30% right now. This would go up to 50%. So that in itself is a tax on foreign investment into the country, making it more difficult or less lucrative to gain foreign investment. So look, it happens all the time. The United States also has tariffs on other countries. We have tariffs on China that Trump implemented. Trump implemented tariffs on on steel and aluminum in his first term. And on top of all this, we have a 100% EV tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles. So we have tariffs all over the place. So first part, is it a blatant attack on the United States? No. Canada and Mexico are two of our largest three trading partners along with China. Now, is this tax going to make it more difficult for U.S. tech companies to compete? Yes. It very well might. So that's the first part. It's not a blatant attack. Now, the next part that I want to touch on before I give you my opinions on what's likely to happen is Trump, he loves this idea, and he constantly says that these other countries are going to pay the tariff. In this, he says, we will be letting Canada know what they will be paying us to do business with the United States or American businesses. I know this has been said 100 times on this channel, on other channels, but the fact of the matter is the foreign country is not paying the tariff. Who's paying the tariff is you and I, the American consumer, because any sort of import that must abide by these future tariffs, they're going to increase the cost of goods sold. And when their costs, businesses, importers' costs go up, they don't just lie down and take that cost. What they do is they pass the costs on to their consumers. And a lot of the time, they literally can't afford to take the cost, even if they wanted to. Because, for example, Walmart, which Trump had also threatened, he said, do not, pass on the costs, eat the costs, right? Which we have to touch on here in a second. They literally are operating on such a small margin that they can't do that. They can't make profit if they just eat the tariff costs. Because, for example, Walmart, they're operating on like a 1 to 2, in a good year, 3% profit margin. I mean, it's pennies. It's literally 3 pennies on every dollar that they sell. Okay, now, with that said, let's talk about Walmart here because this is important. Trump loves to have this notion that other countries are going to pay the tariff. Yet at the very same time, he points at companies like Walmart and says, you better eat the tariff. Do not pass it on to consumers. So, to me, deep down inside, he knows, he's very well aware of who actually ends up paying the tariff. He's very well aware that in most situations, it ends up in the consumer. It ends up coming out of the consumer's pocket. That's why he says, hey, Walmart, don't pass on the tariff. So he likes to say that these other countries are paying the tariff, when in reality, they're not. U.S. consumers are paying the tariff. He knows that. With that said, does it actually harm Canada if there's some blanket tariff or tariff on one of their industries? Absolutely, it does. It makes it more difficult for Canadian businesses to do well against American businesses in the American market because they are competing at a disadvantage. That's the entire purpose of a tariff. So yes, it does harm Canada, just like the current 30% tariffs are harming China. Now, does it make it impossible for them to compete? No, but it does put them at a slight, or sometimes major, if it's major tariffs, disadvantage. So now that we kind of have that deconstructed a little bit and clarified, what do I think is going to happen? Well, luckily for us, we have very clear evidence of what is likely going to happen in this scenario, because it happened in 2018 with Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs, and then it's also happened nowadays with basically every tariff that he's threatened. Okay, what is going to happen, for example, in the 2018 tariffs, is that there are going to be tons of exemptions. That's most likely going to happen here. There are going to be tons of exemptions. Maybe it has to do with the current trade agreements that we have with Canada. Anything that falls under that, then it'll be exempt, right? Which is, I think, currently it's the USMCA agreement, the United States, Mexico, Canada trade agreement, which he literally negotiated, and it replaced NAFTA, which was the North American trade agreement. So maybe he'll do some sort of exemption there. Maybe instead he will just pause the tariffs or cancel the tariffs. Or maybe this Truth Social post is nothing more than an attention-grabbing post, and in 7 days it'll come and pass and there won't be any tariffs. Who knows? Or maybe he's using it as a negotiation tactic because that's what he's done before. Who knows the exact outcome? What we can infer, though, based on data, is the likely outcome is that there is going to be some sort of exemption, massive exemption, some sort of pause while he and Canada, try to negotiate better deals for American tech companies. Or there's going to be some drastic reduction. In 7 days, he will announce some ridiculous tariff, 30%, 50%, 75%, who knows, right? And then a week later, 2 weeks later, or whenever the effective date of these tariffs are, by then he will cut them in half or a quarter or by more. Or, that's likely going to be the outcome. And, I'll give him credit where credit is due. It has actually worked somewhat as a negotiation tactic. With that said, the more you use something, the less effective it is as a negotiation tactic, because the other side of the negotiating party or negotiating group knows that, hey, this is just a negotiation tactic. We can virtually ignore this, right? Unless he has the resolve to implement it, which he has also shown that he kind of sort of does with China, with the 10% blanket tariffs that we currently have on everybody. We don't know if these are going to stack on those. Who knows? But I will also say this. The market, the stock market right now, which is a great indicator as to how people are feeling, it didn't even budge. In fact, at the time of this recording, the last time I checked, the S&P 500 is up. So is that because they know that this isn't actually going to take place? Probably. Investors know that, or that there's going to be some ridiculous negotiation and then it'll be, 1/10 as powerful or half as powerful as the original numbers that he announces. Or like when he first announced tariffs on Canada and Mexico, it'll just be scrapped entirely. Who knows? But anyways, without risking making this video ridiculously long for no reason, this just happened literally today. I'm uploading this video either the day it happened or the day after. And we'll have to wait and see. But in actuality, this is just going to be negotiated away. And if it isn't, you and I, the American consumers, are going to pay. And if instead you're in Canada or in another country that the United States is implementing tariffs on, well, you're going to pay a little bit because your businesses are going to struggle a little bit more to actually compete in the U.S. market, which is a huge market. So that, you might not pay it directly, but yeah, there could be job cuts. There could be all kinds of things. There could be stagnation in other countries' economies because the United States is a very large economy, and it is a very important part to most businesses' business model. So With that said, we'll have to wait and see for 7 days to see if he actually implements tariffs or not. If you like personal finance, world economics, and investing, then you are in the right place. If you like this more laid-back, casual style video, please let me know. This is probably going to be like basically not many edits or cuts. I will add graphs, charts, of course, anything else to support this video. But let me know if you like this style. Usually my videos are, cut and edited. But sometimes I just like to get in front of the camera and talk to you guys because I love this stuff. So my expertise is in finance. There's a lot of crossover between finance and economics, and I love to share that as best as I can with you guys. So with that said, hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.